What's up, guys? Welcome to the Primal Edge Health Podcast. I'm here with Darth Mother Effin Luigi. His username is Darthluiggi on Reddit, and he moderates the Reddit Keto and the Reddit Ketogains board, and I think the Reddit Keto Science board as well. So this guy's seeing like all the questions people have about ketogenic diets, and he's been doing a keto diet for how long now, Luis?
It's been 14 years now.
So
Yeah.
That's
all
crazy.
the types of keto diets.
Do you feel like you're missing out on all the carbs?
Not really.
Not really. That's cool. So yeah, Luis Villasenor is here. Darthluiggi. We're gonna answer a bunch of your questions from Reddit, Facebook, and we'll jump into it. I guess I'll start with this one. This is like the most recent question that popped up on Reddit. How do you deal with stalls when lifting? I found that the advice on the Strong Lifts program didn't work for me when I stalled on my gains last November, and I ended up deloading by 20 pounds or so, and then increased my weight by 5 pounds a week instead of 5 pounds a workout. However, I don't know if that's considered optimal. I wanted to hear your take. So here's a loaded question right out the bat. How do you get gains when you stall?
Well, I think that first we have to remember that any lifting program, they're not thought of as you eating at a deficit. And then we have lots of people here that are lifting while eating at a deficit. You won't be making big gains when you are eating below your suggested calories.
So you're going to eat for gains too. You can't just lift.
Like, if you're not gaining, it's because you're not eating. And really, we have to stop chasing this unicorn. You won't get ripped and lose weight at the same time. Because people mix getting ripped with being huge. There's one thing about losing body fat, and then there's gaining muscle. You're not gonna be doing both, really. It's quite impossible unless you are taking steroids or are a genetic freak, or maybe you're very overweight and maybe you are eating less, but you are getting the energy from somewhere, and that is your fat source, right?
Yeah.
So to answer this question is, if you're not really seeing results, I would say concentrate first on that you are eating adequate protein, and then just suck it up. There's a variation of strong lifts that is for cutting, and instead of doing 5 plus 5, you end up doing 3 times 8.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, this is the question. It's hard to answer a question like this without knowing more about somebody. So how long have you been training? Have you been training for 6 months and your bench press is 135 and you're not making progress? That's going to be a lot different than if you're like benching 2 plates for 5 reps or for 5 sets of 5 and you're stalled there. So like your training age comes into play. And I mean, if you're sticking with a linear progression program, like a 5x5, you should make steady gains as a beginner for a while. And then you might have to switch up your program. There's plenty of other programs out there, like Wendler's 531 is another solid one. There's different variations of the 5x5 program. I think what's that guy? Ice Cream Fitness. A lot of people are doing that one right now. It's kind of popular. But I mean, you could try a different program, but if you're not eating enough, if you're training too frequently, if you're maybe not training hard enough, there's so many things that could come into play. So maybe sometimes it helps to just get like a coach and work with somebody who's pushed past the plateaus that you're sticking at, and they can maybe help you out, or ask a bro in the gym who's bigger where they get their steroids. And
Well, yeah, exactly.
So here's another one. You want another loaded one?
Okay.
What can you guys share about your knowledge of reactive hypoglycemia? Been wondering about this. If you are overweight and have cravings, what happens if you don't eat? All right, so what's hypoglycemia? What happens if you don't eat? Why doesn't portion control work? Not sure what that really means. When is the body's hunger thermostat broken? This is a super loaded question. I mean, we're getting into things like leptin resistance and leptin sensitivity. I mean, you could spend months researching each one of these topics. So I don't know. You got anything to say to that question there?
Well, about the hunger part, hunger is a thing you learn to control. Especially if you're doing fasting, for example, I come from a bodybuilding background where I used to eat every 3 hours, and my body was so used to eating every 3 hours when I didn't eat, I was my head started to hurt. I used to carry a protein bar in my backpack or a whey shake or whatever, and I had to have my 20 grams of protein every 3 hours. Then I started researching about intermittent fasting and how it relates to keto. And about a little more than a year ago, I said, really, fuck it. No more 4 or 5 meals a day. I'm just going to have one meal or 2 meals. Yes, the first week was a little bit hard. Once you push through it, hunger, for example, I haven't eaten anything since about 9 p.m. yesterday. I went today in the morning, did my usual lifting routine without any food, just my coffee and some pre-workout. And here I am. I'm not hungry right now. And my next meal probably is going to be about 5 today. So
maybe the hypoglycemia thing can come into play when you're first adapting to like a keto diet. So maybe, just having a little bit of food and maybe eating more frequently when you're adjusting. But eventually, like, you shouldn't be getting reactive hypoglycemia on a keto type diet. You should be adapting.
Exactly. And also, most people and lots of people, when starting keto, it's like on our last video, think that because they're feeling, heart palpitations or maybe their head hurts, they are being hypoglycemic when it's just lack of electrolytes.
Yeah.
The body is switching from a high carb to a high fat diet, and it's just like a little bit confused. You're just electrolyte depleted. Yep. It's not really hypoglycemia unless you've been reviewed by a doctor and you really have it,
Yeah. There's another question here about refeeds. So I think that kind of ties in with what we were just talking about. So have you ever tried bodybuilding bulking with carbs? This includes high carb diets, balanced diets, or carb refeeds / cycling. If so, what did you experience? So what's up with have you experimented with like high carb diets in the past? I'm sure you have. You've done bodybuilding for like a long time. So.
Yeah, I started doing bodybuilding with the usual high carb diet. I did have some success with it, but that the normal progression I did. I'll even post some pictures. I was somehow strong, but I never really got super lean. And yeah, what is better? I think most are I think both keto diets and a high carb diet are comparable in relation to how much you can build. What will be the most important thing is that you're really eating for your gains. You're really lifting consistently, and you're eating adequate protein. It all comes to consistency,
Yeah. I would say, as far as like gaining weight, but can you turn your sound down a little bit? I think there might be like a little echo, Luis. As far as gaining weight, I think maybe a high carb diet would make it a lot easier to eat in a caloric surplus. And I think a lot of people might have trouble getting in all the calories they would need on like a keto type diet if they're trying to gain weight. So I don't think carbs are necessary to build muscle, but they just might make it easier for a lot of people. If you're on a full keto diet, it maybe could be a little difficult to get in all the calories because you have such decreased hunger and the satiety is so high. So, refeeds definitely aren't necessary. And I haven't really seen any proof either direction of if they help increase gains. There have been studies that show that there's equal muscle gain on a ketogenic diet as compared to a high carb diet. There's been studies that show that keto diets can impinge muscle gain, and a lot of people find it hard to gain weight on a keto diet. So
it's exactly as you said. There are two things. The first would be that one, people don't eat that much on a keto diet. They are not hungry, and then because they're not really measuring, they say, "Oh, I'm eating until I'm not hungry anymore." But are you really eating enough? And then comes the second one that when you are doing keto for a long time, you relate or you think that you lost muscle, and yeah, you might look a little bit smaller because you're not retaining water or glycogen, but that's doesn't mean that you are losing weight or losing muscle. If you look at all the videos and podcasts and whatever of people that say that you lose muscle on keto, they just be doing it like for 1-2 weeks, and then maybe they show some people.
They're like, oh, you lose all your strength on keto, and they tried keto for like 4 days. It's just
and they say that, I'm fine because my head hurts, and then I lost all my muscle. I'm look deflated and look smaller. Wait, and if you do a carb load, you're gonna gain all the water weight back. Like, I haven't done a proper carb load in a while, but maybe for my next experiment, I'll do a CKD of 2 days, loading on rice and whatever, and then measure up how I look. I haven't done it in a while, but the last time I did it, I gained like maybe, I don't remember, 8 to 10 pounds of water, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think what a lot of people experience anecdotally within a small period of time when they try like a low carb diet and they're adapted to a high carb diet, maybe you should take into account that their perception is going to be skewed. It's like if I suddenly ate a super high carb diet for 2 days, I could say, oh, the high carb diet sucks. You feel like crap on a high carb diet. That might not necessarily be true. Like, yeah, if you do a huge refeed, you probably will feel kind of shitty because you're just pumping your body full of stuff that it's not really used to digesting, and it's not going to know what to do with it. So you kind of have to adapt in either direction and give something more than 4 or 5 days before you throw the verdict in and say that it sucks and it doesn't work or it's going to lose all your gains. Yeah, but you can definitely build muscle on a keto diet. Luis has been like pretty strict keto for a long time, and he's making gains, and I've done keto for like over almost a year now and been building muscle and adding strength just fine. So I don't really see any reason why you would need carb loads. If you want a carb load and it helps you to maintain your diet and be healthy, like, there's no problem with that. Why not?
Yeah, it's really a debate. I'm not saying there's the best way or the only way. I really like I don't like to get into these type of arguments. The best diet is the one you can keep doing it for a long time, you know? The one you are happy with, the kind of food you like. People really get inside these questions, and then they spin their wheels, and I wanted the best diet. I want just lift, eat adequately. It doesn't matter if you eat carbs or if you eat fat. Do what works for you and what you like, you know?
Yeah, like for health markers, yeah, like a high-fat ketogenic diet can be really, really good for a lot of biomarkers and for improving metabolic health and for healing your metabolism and your mitochondria. But for some people, it doesn't work very well. And for some people, it can cause issues. So it doesn't, just because it works for a lot of people and can improve their health doesn't mean that every single person should do it, or that we should like scream from the mountaintops that everyone should be doing it. I definitely would recommend a keto type diet to people who can adhere to it and who like, fatty foods and who like eating that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And also, my personal take is, if you are really overweight, try keto. Like, they're just like, you have nothing to lose, but probably body fat.
Yeah.
Really, right? Do it. Eat food you like. You're gonna be fuller all the time. You're not gonna really feel like you're in a diet. You have more chances of keeping up with the diet. You'll get energy. You start lifting if you haven't done so, and probably you'll get hooked to it. And then again, consistency is what will get you there. If you by any chance drop off your weight and want to try a higher carb diet, by all means try it.
Yeah.
It's up to you and whatever you like. Me personally, returning to the question, I tried both a high carb traditional diet, then I found out about keto and started doing, like everyone else, a cyclical keto diet, because I thought that I will get bigger gains with the carb cycling. It worked, but it happened what happens to everyone. I ended up doing more carb loads and then feeling like shit. Then I lost a lot of time doing the depletion workouts and got interested in my training and, yada, yada, yada. Then I stopped doing CKD and I did traditional keto and found out that I didn't really need carbs. Went back to my books and reviewed the targeted keto diet. And, started experimenting with that, and I feel great with a little more carbs. I still get gains and I look leaner. So it's like a little bit of the best of both worlds. But I think this will work better if you're already lean and maybe your insulin resistance is like better. I don't know. I don't have the papers on that, but there are a lot of studies and books on this. Maybe we can throw in some more links regarding the targeted keto diet. But basically, that is why this works, because you have a little bit of carbs that may help with when you reach that point during your workout when you are burning up all the fat you have for energy, and maybe you need just like that little extra push before bunking, or you have less rest periods between sets. That's all that it gives you, same as
so this is the TKD that a lot of people do, like a targeted ketogenic diet. Does that originally come from Lyle McDonald's book, the Ketogenic Diet, a complete guide for? I mean, people can read that book if you want to learn a little.
Yeah, they can get it. It should be like one of the books people should read about keto. It's a little bit old. It's like and I found it in 201 back when I started keto. So it's maybe a 17-year-old book or something.
Yeah.
The information about TKD in that book is like 5 or not more than 20 pages long. It's very, and the letters are very big. So it's very small information. And even Lyle says that first, there are no really studies on TKD and his clients, because it's like at the middle ground. People don't want to do the middle ground. They want to go all the way.
Yeah.
So that's why people start with a CKD, because they think they're going to lose their gains. So there's not much information about a target keto diet.
The CKD is a cyclical ketogenic diet where you do a carb load like once a week. And I guess in Lyle McDonald's book, is it like anything goes for one day, or how does he?
No, Lyle recommends actually that you really measure up your carb intake and type of carb intakes in accordance to your lean weight. So it's a very structured diet, but he also says that some people and some of his clients have tried a CKD like anything goes.
Yeah.
And most people, they just do it like an anything goes diet, and that's why they fail.
Yeah.
Because the real CKD is high carb, very low fat. What you want to do is recover all the glycogen you are losing due to the diet, super compensate, and use it for lifting.
And probably staying isocaloric, which is why you're going to lower the fat when you increase the carbs that day. It's not just like, I think people take these refeeds and they think about it all week long, and they're like, oh, it's Saturday, I'm going to eat donuts and freaking whatever.
You cannot be eating cake. You cannot be eating Pop-Tarts. Definitely you cannot be eating pizza.
Yeah, like a whole pizza.
When I really did the CKD properly, it was like sushi. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, some pasta, whatever.
Those are like maybe 200, 300 grams of carbs as the refeed, rather than like a kilogram worth of carbohydrate calories.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think people can kind of take it from there and do some research into Lyle McDonald's book and some other people's stuff. But Kiefer does the carb night thing, which I don't know. I think that can be marginally successful for some people, but I think when you call something a cheat day and you look forward to it all week, most people just go nuts with it, and then it creates havoc, and then you'll feel crappy for like weeks later. And when I tried Kiefer's carb night, I didn't feel very good for like 3 days after it. So I decided I don't need to use carbs anymore. And then maybe 6 months after that, I actually tried intaking smaller amounts of carbs just around workout, maybe 50 grams of carbs, and it didn't really negatively affect me anywhere near what like a whole cheat day, refeed day.
Exactly.
So I think it's, controlling the amount of the macros that you intake is really important, and that's why keto works. That's why all these people are really into the IIFYM. They're tracking the grams of food that they eat, every single macro, every meal, and that's kind of what it takes to take your body fat to a certain level, unless you have really, really good genetics and are naturally super lean. So,
exactly. We have a lot of people on the Facebook group that are following sort of TKD diet with awesome results. Mm-hmm. So what have they done? They use
like 30 to 50 grams of glucose pre-workout, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like it really depends on the type of training you're doing and the duration and whatever. But you have to experiment, and it's not like people think that you're eating sugar. You're just like eating a small amount, just enough like to offset maybe just like just enough for you to lift heavy.
Yeah, I think people
it really doesn't make that much of a difference, you know.
I think there's something to be said about doing a more standard ketogenic diet for a period of time before you play with carbohydrates, because when you get your baseline metabolism adapted to like a high fat diet, there's certain adaptations that take place which make you able to handle the carbohydrates a little bit better when you do play with them, like on a TKD.
Exactly.
I think people should maybe not start out doing refeeds. Like at least give yourself a few months to adapt.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to another question. So this guy asks, what are your favorite fat bomb snack recipes? Now that's like this really gross term that people use. I don't know. I think maybe Jimmy Moore came up with it. I don't know. But people talk about fat bombs as ways to increase your calories with fat and maybe to create more ketones, which some people are very into chasing high ketone numbers. But the fat bomb, I mean, I guess like for me, when I want to increase my calories and I want to intake more fats, because when I increase my calories, I don't necessarily want to go super high protein because this makes me a little lethargic if I get past a certain point, and I'd rather have my body burning the fat. So what I'll do is I'll maybe have some heavy cream and tea, or I'll just add extra butter to my eggs and sardines in the morning or something like that. A little bit extra butter actually adds really great flavor to meals. And heavy cream is really amazing. Really thick, heavy cream. You can drink that stuff straight. So yeah, what do you like to do?
Yeah, I don't really eat fat bombs. I only had like 3 fat bombs in my whole life.
Yeah.
And once, the first time was after reading a post on Reddit, and said, okay, let's try and make this. And really, it was, yeah, it's good, but really, I get enough fat from my regular food that I don't need it. Yeah. I don't think if you really eat whole foods, you don't need fat bombs.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you make 5 eggs with like a can of sardines, what I usually eat for breakfast, I'll have like 3 or 4 eggs, a can of sardines, and if you put 4 or 5 tablespoons of butter on that, you're gonna have a meal that's probably almost like, you can have 1,000 calories in that meal. You add a little bit of like ricotta cheese or something, you can have like 1,000 calories in that meal. You eat 3 meals like that, you got 3,000 calories. So I don't know, the fat bomb thing.
For example, my usual meal, my usual meal is eggs with coconut oil, maybe a half or a whole avocado, 1 or 2 slices of bacon or fatty ham, and then maybe I'll have a big salad with 1 or 2 or 3 spoonfuls of salad dressing. You know, that's all you need.
Yeah. And well, how many grams of fat are you eating per day, and like for your caloric intake right now with what you're doing?
I don't remember right now. It should be about, depending on whether I'm eating at maintenance, which is right now, should be eating about 190 at least to around 220. Around so
what's that like? That's over 2,000. What's that like? 2,800 calories a day, maybe when you.
I go between 2,200 to 200 and 600 at most.
2,600. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I only watch my protein macro, and all my carbs come from mostly from avocado and green veggies. You know, broccoli, cauliflower. That's all I eat. And of course, maybe the sugar from the TKD, but that's it.
All right, this is my favorite question. This is the best question, actually. I think you know what it is. What does your poop look like? Oh, that's like, I pulled up a really helpful link to show what a proper keto type poop should look like. Let's go ahead. So this is what a proper keto poop should look like.
No.
That's actually me pooping. Okay, that's enough. Okay. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty funny question. I guess maybe this guy's having some digestion issues. Maybe he just started a keto diet and he's blowing up his toilet. So
yeah, probably, or maybe eating too much coconut oil.
Yeah, right. Some people can't handle coconut oil. Some people, they don't like it. So maybe cut back on the coconut oil.
Yeah, cut back and also eat some veggies. That's it.
Eat some babies? Louis.
No, veggies. Drink veggies. Vegetables.
Okay. I'm just kidding.
There's a question I would like to tackle about, the one about nutrient timing.
Nice. That's a good one.
So the skinny fat dude
Let's get bro science on this. Let's get the bro science police out here to tell us whatever we say is not backed up by proper science.
Well, about nutrient timing not being relevant or being relevant is that all these studies are for athletes or bodybuilders. And what happens is that when you read these kind of studies, usually read them on fitness magazines or bodybuilding.com or whatever is your bodybuilding forum of choice, right? So what happens is that, yes, there is a metabolic advantage or nutrient advantage or whatever, but it's a very small one. So you're seeing all these results from bodybuilders which are actually competing, or maybe someone who is doing a marathon race. Of course, you want any advantage, however small it may be, to win. But for people like you're doing this just for your health and because you want to look good, it really won't be a big advantage. It doesn't matter if you have 8 meals a day or if you are really partitioning your protein in exactly 25 grams each time. It really does not matter. You know, if you really want the stress about it, it's gonna raise your cortisol. And
yeah, and if you want to like spend your whole day and make your whole life all about, I mean, dude, eating 6 meals a day, how much? That's such a pain in the butt. I mean, unless you're why would you do that? Unless you're gonna like compete or you're gonna be making money from looking a certain way, what's the point of making your whole life?
I'm going just to put a small example. The other day, I was at this restaurant. And I used to eat like that, 6 times a day, bringing my food and whatever. I didn't even look that good. And then there was this guy on another table. One was eating normally, and another one just took out a Tupperware with broccoli and with steamed
broccoli and rice,
tilapia or fish or whatever. And he was actually waiting his food. And I really on a restaurant, and he was saying that he was competing or something, or I don't know, whatever, because was on another table. This guy didn't even look big as a bodybuilder. Yeah, all this stress and everything is, again, unless you're really competing, it's not worth it. So if you think that it's not working for you, just review that you are really getting your protein, and don't worry if you have to eat 125.5 protein per day. If you eat 5 grams more, 5 grams less, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it's not going to affect it. It's long term. If it's maintaining those habits long term. And I think when people first start a diet, it can be really helpful to like not even necessarily weigh all their food, but kind of track their macros really intensely for like 5 days or a week, so that they know what it looks like. So you know what your meals are going to look like. And then after that, you just throw your meals together and you can do everything intuitively.
I have 2 tips that have worked for me. One, as you say, do a one-time exercise and learn how 200 grams of chicken breast looks like for starters. And then if you really don't mind, try to eat the same food every day. Yeah, maybe it sucks for some people, but for example, I live by myself. It doesn't really matter for me if I eat 4 eggs a day, or like it's my usual food. And when I'm at work, I might eat all the same. I only like eat differently when I'm off to a restaurant. But if you're eating keto, like there's not any restaurant unless you go to a vegan restaurant where you're not gonna get a piece of chicken or maybe a beef or whatever. You can always eat keto.
I think what most people I think a lot of people who are successful at maintaining a good body composition probably end up in a similar place where they're eating you don't even have to eat the same foods every day, but similar, like rotating similar meals all the time. And there could even be something said about that for health. When you think about when you travel to a new place and you try a food that you've never had, you usually get the shits. So when you're in a routine, I think it can help. Like there's all this new research about the gut flora and like the gut microbiome. I think feeding your body a consistent diet of healthy foods, there's something to be said about that, and it makes it a lot easier. I mean, if you know when you go shopping, if you're buying the same stuff every time, you can still make your food taste good and add flavor here and there. But man, for me, I feel the same way. There's no reason for me to get all crazy and gourmet with every single meal.
Exactly. And you brought up something before about going traveling and eating keto or maintaining a diet.
Yeah, that was a question on my Facebook. How do you, what kind of foods do you eat when you're traveling to be on a keto diet? Let's do that.
There are like 2 types or 3 types of travels, you know. If you're going maybe coming to Mexico and you want to enjoy the vacation and you have margaritas and everything, well, you're going to have to compromise. Maybe have a cheap meal or enjoy some of the food, but don't binge. Don't go all the way.
Yeah. Or you just realize, look, I'm going to gain 10 pounds. I might be a little fat when I get back from my vacation, but I'm going to get back on track. I mean,
exactly. That's one way to see it. If you're going for a business, well, try to keep up with the diet. Like I said before, there's not a restaurant where you cannot ask for a salad and chicken, right? And even if my worst experience was when I started keto, and then I went backpacking through Europe, and then I went to Japan. I went to the land of rice. Well, there's a McDonald's there, and it was cheaper. You can always eat a burger everywhere, or even if you eat sushi, you can go and ask for eggs. I ate eggs with salmon or tuna fish. Or
you go out to sushi with your friends, you get sashimi instead of sushi with rice.
People say, for example, when I was in Japan, that Japan is super expensive. And eat with the locals, it's really not expensive. You can go backpacking and eating, there's like small kebabs or shish kebabs, skewers with beef and chicken. I even learned how to say chicken in Japanese and eggs, the tori and whatever. I don't know. It's not that hard. You only have to try and want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, wherever you go, you can order whatever plate. You skip on the rice. Like, it's really not that hard. And, I mean, if you're traveling more locally, like if you're doing a business trip, you're not necessarily going to another country where there's going to be totally different foods. If you're on a consistent diet, like me, for instance, we eat a lot of fish. So you can get canned mackerel or canned sardines anywhere for really cheap. So it's really easy to eat when traveling. And there's also other foods you can make at home which travel really well, like pemmican, which is like a Native American recipe where you take dried beef and you render tallow, and it's basically tallow and spices and dried ground up beef. So there's a lot of like keto friendly foods that you could bring with you if you're not going to have access to any food. But yeah, I mean, you don't need to get all crazy and do your bodybuilding style diet packed into.
And this is actually a time where you can actually use a Quest bar for those that love it, or maybe a protein shake. About 2 weeks ago, I went snowboarding, and this is the first time ever that I bought Quest bars. I had them in the past, but I did buy like 8. I didn't even use them. I had like 3 of them.
You like it? Everyone says they're real good.
Yeah, they are good. I was surprised that they are really good.
Do you believe that there is low carbs? Do you believe that they really don't contain as many carbs as they say? I've heard they taste like too good.
No, well, there's an experiment someone did on the Ready Keto by measuring his or her blood glucose with after ingesting a Quest bar, and I think that it did raise his blood glucose. So
yeah,
what I can say is that I had like 3 or 4 during my trip. I was snowboarding for about 4 or 5 hours a day, and I wasn't even hungry because I was still doing intermittent fasting. But They were like, oh, they're good, a little bit of a snack, whatever, you know?
Yeah, no, it's not hard to travel. Whatever diet you're doing, it's really not hard to travel on. You just have to think a little bit clearly. And I mean, if you're doing a high carb diet and you have to like measure your macros, really track your macros, you can also travel really easily too. It's not that big of a deal. And you just have some flexibility too. Like don't be so crazy where it's like you think if you end up eating a few extra carbs that you're going to get cancer or something, and you're going to die. Like you got to be rational.
That you fell off the wagon. Well, get up, right? Nothing happens.
Yeah, I just made a video about this, like cheat days. You know, it's like if you're gonna eat your carbs and get back on, and you're gonna be fine. You don't have to turn it into this huge like guilt trip, and you got the little things talking to you in both ears. You're useless. You're fat now. Like just freaking chill out. Go eat what you want to eat, and then get back on your diet, and you'll be fine. Exactly. If you gain a few pounds, you gain a few pounds. You're not gonna ruin yourself with one meal slip. You know, it's okay. You will survive. Here's what I like this question. This question's cool. I stopped doing back squats years ago because I do not like the compression and shear force attributed to them. I just feel like there's too much of an injury risk, even with good form. Those last reps always seem dangerous. Recently, I've been reading into front squats and what they bring to the table, such as less weight. It's a long question. More of a core workout, more quads, and arguably less compression and shear force due to better biomechanics. So you're saying, all right, you don't like back squats because you have weight on your back. I don't know. I think back squats are a very safe exercise, especially if done correctly. Unless you have a broken knee or something, I don't think there's a problem with back squats.
No, actually, the point of a squat is having weight on your back.
Yeah, and that's not bad. I mean, you will increase the mineral density, the bone density in your spine and make it stronger. I mean, if you're not going to load up 300 pounds if you've never squatted before, just ease into it. And front squats being better than back squats, I don't know. It depends what you're training for, I guess.
They work a little bit different, regarding back squats. I'm going to do a big confession here. I didn't do squats or deadlifts before 209, 210.
Yeah.
Remember, I was a bodybuilder, bro.
So what were you doing? Like hack squat machine or the leg
press? I was doing squats, half squats on mid machine and doing leg presses. That's all I did. And like extension, the usual bodybuilding exercises. I had never really deadlifted with a barbell. I used dumbbells and very sporadically. And stopping with this bullshit is what really got me really big gains. I have a lot of pictures to show, and I had like a good body, but nothing compared to what I have achieved today. And I'm very sure by the result of going back to compound lifts and doing them properly. If you're afraid of doing a squat, well, first learn to do a proper squat, and then maybe invest in a good belt. Yeah, a belt is a really big difference, and it helps to maintain a good posture, and you won't get any problems. And also, don't go too heavy. A front squats are actually more difficult to do than a regular back squat. And
front squat is great exercise, but being better than back squat, I think you should do them both. I mean, do them both.
They're
good at
complementary.
If you're an athlete, maybe for an athlete that's jumping and wants running speed, a front squat might be a little bit better because you're a little more upright. But you're still going to want to do some back squats because they're great. It's a great exercise. It's one of the best things. I mean, everybody should be able to squat. Everybody should be able to body weight squat down, butt to the ground. Everybody should be able to do that. I mean, children shouldn't be allowed to graduate from kindergarten. Kindergartners can still squat, but once you get into like grade school age, the kids are sitting on their butts all day and they lose their biomechanics. So I think everybody should be squatting, not necessarily with huge load, but everyone should squat. It's a great exercise. Oh yeah. All right. So here's a question. Is TKD, that's like the targeted ketogenic diet, and that's what Luis likes to do, good for bulking up? If I'm just bulking, should I not do keto? So this person wants to put on muscle, if they're bulking, should they not do keto? Oh man.
Well, it goes hand in hand with the previous question or what we talked about before. I think it's, are you eating enough calories? Are you really lifting with an adequate program? That's all there is to it. So my personal opinion is TKD works great for building muscle. It also depends, what do you refer bulking up? Are you referring bulking up as just gaining weight, or do you want to gain weight while keeping a keto diet most of the time? If your goal is overall health and you like eating keto and staying on keto, CKD is a great option. You could also try a CKD, or maybe go back to a high carb diet. It's all up to you.
Yeah, I mean, if high carbs makes it easier for you to get in those calories in bulk, I guess that's a way to do it. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. I mean, I would say that eating a lot of carbs makes it easier to gain weight, but also easier to gain body fat, because if you're not tracking what you're eating and you're just like, I'm going to bulk, and you just freaking eat whatever you want. Yeah, if you want to do a fat bulk, then eating a high carb diet is fine, and not tracking your macros is fine. But if you want to gain lean muscle only and minimize fat gain, then you'll either, a keto diet can work very well, but also a high carb diet could also work, but you're going to have to be strict in how you partition your nutrients and what you're eating.
Exactly. For example, just to end up this question, imagine, as I said before, mostly in my personal case, I'm almost eating the same things every day. The only difference is when I train, I do have a little bit extra calories. How? Some of them from MCT oil, some of them from maybe a little extra protein, and some of them from extra carbs. That's it. That's like the little difference you need to gain muscle and make muscle along with lifting.
Yeah, there's no best diet for bulking or cutting. It's just whatever you can adhere to and whatever works for you the best.
Exactly.
And especially long term. It's like if you want to stay lean, it's important that you can adhere to a diet long term, and that you're not going to, jump back and forth and yo-yo all about. Here's a good one. Is acetone breath a guarantee when in ketosis? After about 2 weeks, all I had was a feeling of dry mouth, even though I was drinking plenty of water.
Okay. Are you eating carbs? That's like it really does not matter how you measure, but if you're eating carbs, you are not in ketosis. You are not eating carbs and have not been eating carbs for a while, 2-3 days, you are definitely in ketosis, right?
Well, maybe unless you're eating a lot of protein, you might be.
Yeah, but like a lot, this is a thing I love. People say, you're eating too much protein. We have to remember that too much or too little depends on the person and on each person's physiology and lean body weight. We get into all these debates on Facebook and Ketogains and the Reddit keto board. And no, you're eating a lot of protein. It turns into chocolate cake. It turns into sugar. How much?
Yeah, a famous keto guru said that eating too much protein is just like eating chocolate cake. And that's an absurd statement. That's not real. I don't know why he said that. But look, if you eat too much protein, you might not be in ketosis. You might not get high blood ketones, but that's just rhetoric. If you're eating too high protein, you're still going to lose body fat. You're not going to be storing body fat, and you might oxidize protein for energy, but you might not be in ketosis, but you can still lose weight. So you don't have to think like a few extra grams of protein is going to stall your weight loss and you're going to whatever. I mean, it's silly. And it all comes down to semantics, in my opinion. Here's a good question. Here's a good one. What is your opinion on how keto and intermittent fasting stack up together, specifically in regard to hormones? Seems like both lifestyles sort of stimulate starvation without actually starving. Do they have a compounding benefit? That's, everything's in context, right? So, I mean, exactly. If you're looking for health benefits, if you're trying to, if you're fighting a chronic disease such as cancer, and then I think they could both stack up very well. It depends on your goals. I mean, if you're coming from the place of someone trying to build muscle as fast as you can, intermittent fasting plus keto probably is not ideal, in my opinion, to build muscle. But it depends on your goal. For health and hormones, they would both have a similar effect on your fasting insulin level and keeping insulin level low. But I don't know. What do you think, Luis?
I think I agree pretty much with what you're saying. There are like lots of studies both in pro and against both keto and intermittent fasting. Like lean gains fans, they say that there's a big advantage for doing a lean gain style diet, which is basically intermittent fasting with some carbs post workout and whatever. It's the same. If you're going to be doing intermittent fasting and want to do it for health, I think they work both very well together. If you want to do them for gains, it's again, as we said before, it's all about the calories. I've been doing keto with an intermittent fasting like protocol for like I said, almost a year, and I'm breaking my personal records in powerlifting, and I look leaner and stronger. So what can I say?
Yeah, I would, in my experience, like, for me, I guess intermittent fasting probably isn't the best thing for gaining muscle. And that's, I mean, there's no science to back that up. This is just my opinion. I don't think it's the best thing for building muscle. That's just in my experience. I think that we talked about nutrient timing not being that important earlier, but I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on it because I think there can be benefits hormonally if you time things right. Like right after your workout, for instance, you're probably very prone to being in an anabolic state. So having a meal after a workout, I always try and do that. But do I think I'm going to lose my gains if I don't? No way. I don't worry about it if I can't get a meal in. So I don't know. Bro science accusations are going to fly. That's like, I don't care. It's like, look, it's what works for you. And you're not going to find a study that's going to tell you, you can cherry pick studies and find studies backing up whatever you want. And, as far as like bro science and real science, that's all just rhetoric. It's like, you can call anything bro science or say anything is real science. It's just, I think the whole thing is just funny. And it's one of the reasons why the internet is it's such a strange, amazing place.
Like first, there's a schematic I once saw, like if this, then that, and if is the guy that is telling you this is ripped, or does he has a body like you want to achieve? Yes or no? Like, does he lift? Does he is he natural? Then what is he doing? Does it have a science to back it up? Then maybe try it. But don't overanalyze things. Just do it.
Yeah, it also is like just because a ripped dude like says this works, says that like eating cow patties gives you the biggest gains ever, and he's super big and ripped, that doesn't mean that what he's saying is true. It's like, I think you got to think rationally, and like you said, you got to have like a line of logic when you want to try something or study something. And just try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
I used to think that intermittent fasting was bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, how do I know if it's bullshit or not if I haven't really tried it?
I like intermittent fasting. I did it for like a year, and it was great. I mean, it makes you very insulin sensitive. As far as like maximizing gains, I wouldn't say that it's the best way to gain muscle.
Probably not.
Yeah, if I was really trying to build as much muscle as I could, as fast as I could, and that was my main goal, and I didn't care about health, I probably would do like a higher carb diet with like, maybe with crazy nutrient timing and, just like really obsessively maximize it. But I don't care that much. Like, I like to make gains. I like to get stronger, and I like to be healthy, and I like how keto feels. So that's just what works for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Doesn't mean that everyone needs to do it like Luis and I. You
have to understand also another thing. You can, maybe you are 14 or 16, you can join the Pop-Tart crew.
Hey, well, most of the people commenting, talking shit on all these videos, they're between 14 and 16 anyways.
Yeah, like I had some guy the other day, they attacked me on Reddit because he said that I've been lifting about 20 years and I only managed 425 deadlifts.
But you've been deadlifting for like a year, right?
Yeah, after 20 years, I only managed 425 deadlifts. Like, man, I'm a manlet. For me, that's like lifting a mountain, you know?
Yeah, how tall are you? 5'1"?
I'm 5'6".
He's 5'6". Luis is 5'6", and he weighs like the same as me, man. He's a few inches. Like I'm 5'9". So Luis is a freaking big, strong dude, especially for his size.
And this guy, I went through his history, and he was like lifting for 10 months and probably 16 years.
Yeah.
Like, well, man, what are we even talking about? And also another thing that, returning to the question is, I'm almost 38 years. I'm near my hormonal and genetic potential. Like I'm not going to get any bigger, really.
Yeah.
So if I was younger, I did when I was young, I did a high carb diet. It worked well for me. Right now, what I think works better is a low carb diet.
I think there's this funny thing on the internet with just like these wars and they're like troll wars. You know, it's like the internet is kind of like the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit. You got like trolls and the orcs, and they're both under the age of 18. They're just like everyone's battling each other over a bunch of minutia and rhetoric and bullshit. Look, if you want to eat a freaking IIFYN diet, which is not even a diet, that's just a saying that came about on a bodybuilding.com forum because kids were asking stupid ass questions like, can I eat a Pop-Tart on my diet? And the answer is, well, if it fits your macros. Then they started abbreviating it, IIFYN, because they're sick of answering stupid questions. Look, you can include a little bit of junk food in your diet, but for the most part, most people with like a good physique are eating whole foods and are eating, like even the people who rep IIFYN, they're out there saying like that 90% of your diet should be whole foods and dense nutrient dense foods, not Pop-Tarts and Captain Crunch to meet all your freaking macro needs. But it's like things get misrepresented and taken to extremes. And then these kids come on, they start bashing anybody who's like doing a keto diet. And it's like, dude, I'm not out here saying that everybody needs to do keto or that it's better than IIFYM for whatever reason. It's just, it is a good diet for me and for a lot of people. And we provide information to help people who are interested in it. We're not trying to like convert you all to the dark side of like a low carb diet. It's not about that. It's not about like religions and drawing lines in the sand. IIFYM works. All these other diets work for a lot of people. Just quit bitching and fighting about it and hating in comments. It's so stupid. Like such a waste of time.
Now that you brought this to point, I have some trolls that one of their favorite sayings or responses when against keto is, why would you forfeit a whole macro, in regards to not eating carbs? Like, if you looked at how I eat, you would see that I eat almost more vegetables than the average person. I eat a lot of vegetables that a lot of vegetables don't have carbs. It's not really an issue. I'm getting more nutrients in my broccoli and cauliflower and kale and spinach than you will get from your bananas or oranges. People just don't do that exercise.
I don't understand. There's a lot of people who hate on keto, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, they say that you can't forfeit a whole food group. I'm eating about 30 to 50 grams of carbs. How much fat are you eating?
There you go. They're eating like 60 grams of fat.
Fat. They're eating about 20 or 30 grams of fat a day.
Yeah, well, I think that's pretty low, man. That's like unhealthily low. Freaking 20 to 30 grams. Why would you defeat all that fat? Body needs fat too.
So I'm doing it wrong because I'm not eating carbs, but you're doing it right because you're not eating fat. So yeah. What's the logic behind it?
Well,
right?
We don't even need to get in. Like, if you want to see a stupid ass diet, look what this durian rider and his freaking anorexic, insane girlfriend are doing. I mean, they're 80% carbs, 10% protein, 10% fat. And it's like, and they look like freaking Skeletor. I don't No, actually, Skeletor's ripped. They don't look like Skeletor.
And returning to the poop question, I would like how does Frilele poop? By eating how many? 30 bananas a day?
His poop smells like roses, man. His poop. You just even ask him. His poop, and if he touches weights, he blows up. He's just like, he looks at weights, he gets ripped. Yeah, the great durian rider. Just ask him how awesome he is. Hey, this is a good transition question. Here we go. Would love to hear your thoughts on zero carbs and bodybuilding. So this is like, everyone's about zero carbs now because people take things to extremes all the time. And so keto's pretty popular. So let's go zero carb. I am talking meat and fat only diet. Reason for asking is that I've been playing around with it and I felt great, but it did result in really high protein intake, sometimes 4 to 5 grams per kilogram of body weight. I guess that's pretty high protein. So I'm not sure that it can be considered a ketogenic diet. Probably not a ketogenic diet. Blah, 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 blah. I felt great and was a lot stronger than on traditional keto on the zero carb diet. So what's up with that? You ever tried zero carbs? Play with that?
Not like on purpose. For example, yesterday probably I should have been in about 10 carbs yesterday because I didn't have any veggies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same, right? Like I've never done that on purpose, but if you do go like zero carbs with high protein, you're really not gonna be doing a keto diet, but more like a Dave Palumbo diet. Which
have you heard of John Anderson, that guy? John Anderson, the deep water method. He does that. All meat diet, basically. He's really big and strong and ripped.
Yeah, I don't think that it's detrimental. Maybe you get results. The only thing I think is not so great is that maybe you'll feel tired or lethargic because all the metabolic process involved in transforming protein to energy.
Yeah, lots of them.
That's the only issue I would have. Maybe it's not as efficient. And yes, you're going to be probably in a process of gluconeogenesis in this case, because you have to get energy from somewhere, and the way that to get energy from protein is to convert it to glucose. But,
yeah, it seems like something that I don't say it's unhealthy, but I'd say it's kind of unnecessary. I mean, it sounds like it's not the easiest diet to maintain, but if you just like eating meat and you don't like anything else, I don't know. I don't know if a lot of the people that are starting to get into this are getting into it because they've got an unhealthy relationship with food and they're afraid of carbs. I don't know. I think it just comes down to like whatever works for you. And there's people who do the zero carb diet. Actually, you know who it came from? A lot of the zero carb stuff. The main guy was Owsley Stanley, and he was one of the biggest manufacturers of LSD back in the 60s. He was like the main LSD chemist for like the Grateful Dead. And he was the sound guy for the Grateful Dead. He advocated a zero carb diet. So yeah, and that's kind of an interesting little fact. But,
if you want like the diet of extremes, try a vegan keto diet.
A vegan keto all protein diet. That's like the most extreme, unsustainable.
That's like ultra hardcore. No cheese. No, broccoli. No, what can you eat? Just like lettuce and broccoli.
Dude, it's almost like people like get in these dick measuring contests about whose diet is the most extreme. That's why I'm laughing. Like it's like I eat no vegetables, no, like I don't know. For me, moderation in diet is important. I think like, oh yeah, I eat a keto diet, but to me that's moderate. I like eating eggs and meat and fish. Like those are my favorite foods. Like my favorite foods to eat are fish and eggs. So for me that works, and that's a moderate diet. Eat lots of vegetables, and I don't see any reason to cut out vegetables completely. I mean, I don't know the theory behind it or the science behind it, but it sounds kind of extreme in my opinion. But hey, if it works and you like it, then go for it. Just do it. Like Nike.
Exactly. Okay.
You got any good questions you see popping up? You get private message questions, didn't you?
Well, I got one question about being weight loss long term. Is it possible with keto or with any diet in particular? And why is it possible and why is it not possible? And my personal take is that it's all due to habits. People who lose weight, then, for example, they lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds. They and lose the weight, and then they think they can eat like everyone else. And suddenly, that's not going to happen. You cannot be eating pizza all day and ice cream, and even less without moderation. Like there was the commentary I saw once in BBC, I think, I remember correctly, about people saying they had a metabolic syndrome or that they ate at a deficit and they were not losing weight. And then this program, what does is that they follow this person all day and they record what they are really eating with the exact calories. And then they compare what the people really ate and the calories they consumed versus what the people thought they ate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, there was like 9 out of 10 people, they were overeating and overportioning their food to what they should be eating. So they were not losing weight because they were eating more than they needed, and they were not recording the food they were ingesting. And then they actually did the calorimeter test, where they put them to exercise and with a breathalyzer and whatever. And supposedly this person had a metabolic syndrome. In truth, she was like 20 calories below what her calculated TDEE should be. So this person was not losing weight because she was not measuring what she should be eating, and she was eating more. So
under-reporting how much she ate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like under-reporting is a big problem with dietary studies and dietary intervention studies. It's really hard to do studies.
Also, it's not also the person's fault. Also, portions in a lot of packages are done wrong.
Yep.
Like some of them are done on purpose, so people eat more. For example, you look at, I don't know if it's the issue right now, but before I remember, for example, a can of Coca-Cola, it said 60 calories per portion. A person would think a portion is a can. No, a portion was 1/3 of a can. So you are ingesting 60 calories. You think you're ingesting 60 calories when in truth you're maybe ingesting 180.
Yeah.
So of course you end up miscalculating.
So people really need to learn how to read labels and actually count the calories, if they're going to be intaking these kinds of foods. It's very important.
Yeah, and actually it's a core and it's horrible, and people stress about it, and we are the only animal that counts calories. So yeah, but
we're the only animal who has junk food available to us year-round every day.
Also, that's the other big thing. Like, I'm very sure if you eat whole foods and stop relying on junk foods and processed food, you're gonna get better results. And even if you just sort of wing it, than if you are just trying to measure everything. My only advice in this regard would be, just like you said before, do a 1 week where you really measure and weigh your food as an exercise and see if you're really eating what you should be eating, and then be done with it. Just like you realize how much a portion of each foodstuff looks like, right? Just to get the hang of it. And you'll be surprised that maybe you're eating more or you are eating less. And that's about it.
Yeah, and there's different levels of that depending on your goals. Some people are going to want to weigh all their food. Some people only need to come within like 10 to 20% of their estimated daily macros to get the goals that they desire and to be healthy. So I think, people either put too much energy into it or too little, and that could be a problem in both directions. Here's a maybe we'll kind of wrap up with a couple questions, but this one's nice, light, fluffy question. What supplements do you guys take and why? Especially, has following a ketogenic diet any influence on deviation from standard recommended doses? Okay. The first part of that question, what supplements do you take and why do you take them?
Okay.
Are you on steroids, Luis?
No.
Are you on steroids? Oh, man.
I would take, if anyone wants, I can take a blood test. Of course, if they pay for it, whatever test you want, I have no issues with it.
The 14-year-olds think that you can't get as big as Luis. Like, dude, these kids have said that I'm on steroids. I'm not even big. Kids are
really?
I'm on steroids. It's like, dude, I'm flattered that you'd say that, but I'm freaking small. I weigh 165 pounds when I'm bloated.
Well, yeah, for supplements, I get most of my electrolytes from real food. I don't really add anything else but maybe some salt to my food. I'll try to have some broth or bouillon every once in a while, especially if I feel like lethargic or tired.
So he's got kind of a thick accent. He's saying bouillon. I don't even know how to say the freaking word, but it's like those cubes, right? Those little cubes. Yeah. Bouillon cube.
Yeah, they're very popular here in Latin America. I was very stoked last week where I was in the USA, where I found in a Whole Foods the broth, just like the one you are drinking, real bone broth. We don't have it here, although we make our own. But apart from that, I only have creatine, and I'm using right now a product I love that is called Totalis, which you can get from a page in the internet. You just Google it up. It's basically my favorite pre-workout so far. It has caffeine, it has nitric oxide, it has citrulline, just stuff to make you lift a little bit more. It's not gonna get you magical gains. Maybe you're gonna be hyper and lift 5 pounds more. Same as creatine. Just it all stacks up.
Yeah, I actually don't. I don't even take creatine right now. I used to take creatine, but I don't know if I'm a non-responder or what, but I don't know if I noticed anything from it. But I stopped taking it, and I don't know if I miss it. Maybe I should take it. So.
Well, if you're getting enough beef and broth, I don't think that you really need it. But it's so cheap that.
Yeah, it's dirt. Creatine's dirt cheap.
It's very cheap. It also has some neurological properties apart from lifting. So.
Yeah, and creatine's a nootropic that actually increases brain function and neuron firing. So I think maybe everybody should take creatine just to get their brain working properly.
And you need very little. It dissolves easy. As we said before, it's very cheap. So why not? Even if you're a non-responder in the gym, so a lot of people are who were overweight are afraid of using creatine because they think they're gonna bloat.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to remember that creatine only retains intramuscular water. So in any case, you will look a little bit bigger. Mm. So there's no sense in creatine.
Yeah. I don't really take that many I don't take any workout supplements really. I have magnesium on hand just in case I need it every once in a while, but I don't really use it. As far as supplements, I use food type supplements, which are I really like adaptogenic herbs. My favorite, I really like reishi, and there's certain reishi products that actually help to design, but I don't even have it up on my site yet. I'll put it up on my site eventually. But yeah, reishi mushroom, chaga mushroom. My friends David and Jared at Vigor sent me some deer antler velvet and there's chaga, so I make some chaga tea every day, and I have some of the deer antler velvet, and those, I get good results from those. Other adaptogenic herbs I really like are ashwagandha. Now that's a hormone balancing herb. It's an adaptogen that'll help your adrenals and help lower your stress hormones. Other ones that I think are good are rhodiola. That's another really powerful one. Turmeric, which is just a spice. I think everybody should probably include turmeric in their diet because it decreases inflammation. But these are all health things. These aren't, if you lift maybe stuff like tribulus and cissus are herbs that I have on hand that every once in a while I'll use. But I like playing with supplements, but mostly herbs, not not much creatine or nitric oxide or any of the standard ones. Although I've played with arginine and stuff, but I really don't notice much from those things. I didn't really get anything from it, so I don't take those.
Yeah, you're not gonna notice a big changes with any supplement. I took it for 2 weeks and then I'm super strong or super swole.
Yeah. You know what? Cissus worked for me before I was in keto. Cissus was one that I thought was really cool for not necessarily strength, but I'd say for endurance during sets in the gym. That's a kind of a cool herb, and it gives you this crazy pump. So I don't know, Cissus quadrangularis. So it's got the weirdest name, but that one's fun to play with if you want to try a funky herb. Oh, here's a good question to end with. A lot of people, I get if you're going to eat all organic and shop at Whole Foods and stuff, it can get kind of expensive. So if you're trying to eat healthy, but also on a moderate budget, or if you have a family and you're trying to feed 5 people and you guys don't have lots of resources for food. This person's asking, how would you do a keto diet that is very nutritious, but also very cheap? You got any recommendations there, Luis, on keeping the diet within the budget to be healthy?
You can get cheaper than eggs and chicken.
Yeah.
I don't know, depending on where you live. Here in Mexico, I can get 2 whole chickens for 145 pesos, which is less than $8, about, let's say, maybe $10. Mm-hmm. 2 whole chickens. And eggs will be about 30 eggs, about 60 pesos, which is about $5. So,
yeah. I mean, it's like you try to be optimal and eat the healthiest foods and organic foods if you can to minimize like exposure to pesticides and stuff. But a lot of people, to them, that's not important. And what's important is just hitting their macros. So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend eating KFC without the bun, but you can get canned sardines really cheap. You can get canned mackerel, canned tuna, chicken, and if you go to farmers markets, that's a really good thing. If you have local markets, like outdoor farmers markets, and you make a relationship with the people there, you can get stuff directly from farmers, which is a lot cheaper. And you have a closer connection with your food. So it kind of puts a nice like energy on it. So
yeah, right here in the corner, there's a butcher. I could get a whole pig for about, let's say, probably less than $100.
Yeah. Make a relationship with your butcher.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the whole pig, you know. I'm not going to eat a whole pig by myself, but I can get a whole brisket or ribs of pig or maybe beef for about, I don't know how much expensive it's in the States or somewhere else, but this will last me for about 2 or 3 weeks.
I think it all depends on where you are geographically, you know, like what you have around you. And you just, wherever you are, you have to find the best source for your food. So like when we lived in California, it was going to the farmer's market. We used to actually buy broth. We used to buy bone stock, beef stock, and lamb stock from some local farmers. And we would buy all of our stuff that we could at the farmer's market. And you can just look for deals at your local, like, healthy food store. You know, if you don't have to shop at Whole Foods to be healthy. And most places, most towns and cities will have smaller health food stores that'll sell good food. It'd be a lot less than the jacked up prices at Whole Foods. So yeah, just wherever you live, do your best and try to be as optimal as you can. And don't beat yourself up if you've got to, you know, eat some conventional beef. It's not going to kill you. It's probably still better than, you know, eating a standard American diet. So just do what you can. All right, so before we go, Luis, what have you been training lately? You said you were doing deadlifts today. What have you been training for? Strength mostly lately, and how you been programming that?
I'm concentrating on compound lifts. I'm doing a bra split. I know, kill me, but I train each muscle differently. Separately every day. Mm-hmm. But always trying to concentrate on the big lifts first. So I'm following sort of a fat program from Lane Norton, which is a mix of powerlifting with bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you said you were deadlifting today. You want to show what's up with that deadlift? Let me see it. 425 sumo.
There you go.
Now, Luis, I don't know if you realize, but on the internet, according to 14-year-olds on the comment sections, sumo is cheating. Wow. Look at that manlet.
Sigh.
Nice. So you hit 425, and how long have you been training deadlifts now?
A little bit more than a year.
Nice. Yeah, same here. I broke 400 recently. You're racing to the finish, man. So now obviously 500, right? That's the goal.
The whole first is 450.
That's nothing. 500 is the goal. Come on. I'll never be satisfied, man. How can, like, you get a weight and then it's freaking 450. I guess that's my next goal too. 450. Got to hit that before you hit 500.
Exactly.
But I'm not going to be very happy when I hit 450. It's just like, oh, that's almost 500.
Almost.
Or 495, or I use kilo plates here, so it might even be under 500 when I hit 5 plates. That's cool. So what? So you've been doing the PHAT type training. So like this session, how many sets and reps did you do when you deadlifted?
I start with warm-up sets that are about 12 reps of 135. Then I do 12 reps at 225. Then 6 reps at 335. Then 2 reps at 385. And then I do 1 rep for 400 and 425. And then deload and do 6 more at 225.
Yeah.
So that's like about 8 sets.
Okay. And are you squatting still? Like what's your squat?
Right now I deloaded and I'm doing 365, 375.
365?
365, 375. And the goal is to hit 400 consistently.
Yeah. Like with depth? You get depth on that?
With depth, yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
I need
you
to
have
go,
like a crazy bench press too, don't you? What do you bench press?
Bench press alone without a spotter, I'm at 315. 315, I've managed even at 365. And with a spotter, I've hit 4 plates. But according to the internet, does not count. So
wait, it doesn't count if you have a spotter?
No, it does not count.
Well, what if they don't touch the bar? It's just them standing there. That doesn't count?
No, because it sucks. Yeah, it gives you extra energy.
Oh yeah, you're taking his chi. Like you're psychic vamping his chi energy. Damn, the internet, dude. It's like so hard to make gains on the internet. It's like you think you hit something. I noticed that you were using straps on that deadlift, so it's like it don't count.
It's all a lie.
Oh, and it's sumo with straps, and I mean, I saw that out of the frame, somebody maybe could have lifted up one side of that barbell, and maybe that's why you cut it out. So like, I mean, I don't know, man. We ask the kids. Guys, comment down below on why we cheat, why we're cheating, why it doesn't count.
It's all in the carbs, man. It's all in the carbs.
Yeah, carbs pre-workout. You cheater. You ate carbs.
Yeah. PTJ.
All right. Well, this has been fun. I hope everybody enjoys the conversation. We'll do it again sometime. It was a nice little Q&A. So we're going to get on with our lives. Do you have any closing statements? Are you looking for, like, your name is Darthluiggi. Like, what's up? When does the new Star Wars come out? What's up with that? Come on. December what?
Yeah, December 2015.
All right. Well, now let's test your nerd skills. When does Game of Thrones season 5 start? You fail. You don't.
I'm not a big Game of Thrones fan. Sorry.
Do you even Game of Thrones? Oh man.
No, I'm a loser. I know. I don't watch TV. I don't watch Netflix.
I don't watch TV either, but I watch Game of Thrones. I download it.
I do play Pillars of Eternity. Look it up.
Oh man, you're trying to out nerd me. I don't even know what game that. I don't even know what that is. That sucks. You win.
You should. If you were a nerd in the 2001 and you used to play Baldur's Gate RPGs, you should know what Pillars of Eternity is.
2001, I was probably playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I'm a horrible nerd. I'm low level nerd. I'm sorry, guys. I've been nerd shamed. I'm just gonna end this now. This is over.
Okay.
Don't speak to me again. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Do a flex. Flex it.
Do a flex.
Show your man-left shoulders.
Let's see a flex, Luis. Let's see a flex. It's just 2 guys in tank tops flexing at each other. This is totally normal. This is not gay. Let's see one. Let's see one. All right.
That's it. Well, see ya. Bye-bye. Peace.